better. My name is Henry Rondon. I'm the Assistant Executive Director at CIAC, and I welcome everyone to our Men of Color Conference. Very quickly, if you do not know the history of this conference, coming out of COVID, of course, quite a bit happened that summer. And out of what happened that summer, it was decided that we should start a Student Equity Advisory Board of students from around the state. From that idea came this. And in the initial idea, we really thought about promoting men of color with the idea of taking leadership positions in education. And therefore, in our first conference, which was virtual, because of what was going on at the time and the circumstances, we had two panels. One was made up of school administrators from around the state, superintendents and principals. And the idea was, of course, to promote the idea of having men of color go into leadership positions in education. Just a show of hands, how many of you want to be teachers in the crowd? Raise your hands. Stafford, we got to change that, man. You got to do something today. Don't worry about it, gentlemen. It's a very, very, it's pretty usual to say that because obviously in high school you're still immersed in the experience, but once you get to college, I'm sure some of you will change that. Long story short, this has evolved into a great event where we've brought leaders from all sorts of careers to share their knowledge, and just as important as we've done this throughout the years, it's really to promote the idea that most of us who get to whatever positions, whatever you presume to be success, you don't go just from point A to B. There's obstacles that you will have to overcome, and if you're overcoming obstacles right now, basically we're here to show you that you can overcome. That, you know what, it can be a struggle, but with work and perseverance, it will work. So our goal today is that you listen to the men who are up here, the people that you will listen to in the breakout rooms, and that, number one, you for yourself can take something back into your community and first think about what you're doing, what you would like to do in life, what goals you can achieve, and then number two, as an individual, what can you do in your community to improve your community as well as a person of color. With that being said, I would like to introduce our wonderful Director of Student Activities, Charisse Adukwe.
Thank you, Henry. Good morning. So first, I just want to congratulate all of you who were selected to be here today. We're extremely excited to have you. Like Mr. Rondon just explained, we started off virtual with a little over 100 students, and it just continued to grow and grow. So we're excited to have you all here today and excited to hear about the work that you're doing in your communities. And I know you'll learn a lot from our wonderful panelists here who took the time to come to speak with you all today and to create great breakout sessions for you later. So thank you to our panelists for joining us today. Give them a hand. I also want to give a very special thank you to Berlin High School, who continues to accommodate us and provide everything that we need to have this conference and to provide this opportunity for all of you. So thank you to Berlin High School. And also a quick thank you to our partners, the Connecticut Army National Guard, who you'll see out in the hall. And a really special thank you to your advisors for doing all of the work they had to do to get you here today, and all of the work that they do within your schools. So let's give your advisors a quick hand. All right, so let's get right into this. I am excited to introduce to you today your student moderator right here from Berlin High School. Gabriel Rio is a senior here at Berlin High School. He is a member of the varsity football team, the Red Cats, and plays the position of wide receiver and safety. He mentors and volunteers with the town youth flag football team. After graduation from high school, Gabe hopes to pursue a degree in criminal justice and to someday become a police officer. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Gabe Rio.
Good morning and welcome to the 2024 Men of Color in Leadership Conference. It is an honor and a privilege to introduce an esteemed panel of leaders representing a wide range of professions and perspectives. Today's program will begin with a panel discussion followed by a break where students will be guided to their breakout sessions by our outstanding student leaders from Berlin High School. After the panel, groups will be dismissed. Please wait for your dismissal instructions at that time. Now let's give a warm welcome to our distinguished panel. First up, we have Andre Johnson, London King, Lydell King, Raul Ortiz, Da Vinci Prado, Christopher Prescott, and Stafford Thomas. Now we will start this event by doing a Q&A session with our panelists. Please share a bit about yourself. What is your background and what led you to your current leadership role?
My name is Andre Johnson. My current position is CIO of a credit union, a bank, which means I'm responsible for everything that is digital, technology, and operation. I have a long history in sports. I played high school basketball in Waterbury, Connecticut. I went on to play Division I basketball at Jacksonville University, transferred to Post University, played a few years overseas in Ireland and in Spain. I was talking to London here, and we were talking about his first year of college. I remember being in college and didn't really know what I wanted to do or major in, and I found two things that I was interested in. One was sports, the other was technology. Through my journeys in education, I was fortunate enough to get recruited into a leadership program at GE, and I'm happy to say I was the youngest executive to ever, be a part of General Electric Company. So after 4 years, I made the executive level. I had a 17-year career at General Electric, and then I went into high tech. So I worked for companies like Dell, Google, and EMC. I was fortunate enough to retire early. I just recently came out of retirement late last year, and I just have a passion for the youth and for sports. So that's what brings me here today.
My name is London King. I'm currently a freshman at UConn. I work with the men's basketball team, and I'm majoring in sports management right now. I'm a former high school basketball player, varsity at South Windsor High School, and I'm also a 4-time heart attack survivor, 2 heart surgeries as well. I played high school varsity basketball at South Windsor, and I was planning to play prep basketball this spring. I committed. Right after I committed, I had my 4th heart attack. My first one was at 10, my second one was at 15, my third one and 4th one were both at 17. After my 4th one, I realized that I was not able to play anymore at the level that I wanted to play. And I was supposed to play at Winchendon High School in Winchendon Prep School in Massachusetts. I talked to the coach, I visited the school. I had everything set. I had my commitment date. I committed, and the day after I had a heart attack, and I realized that this is just not the career I'm supposed to have. This past summer, I ran into Dan Hurley on the UConn campus. I had not been accepted to UConn yet. I was still looking for colleges because I had not been looking at colleges because I was so into prep school. I ran into Dan Hurley, and I told him my story, everything that has happened to me in the last 4 years, 5 years of my life, and he offered me a spot on the basketball team, which was pretty important to me. The fact that he took the time to listen to my story, appreciate what I had to say, and offer me a spot on his team, the back-to-back champions. And I took the spot. I'm now currently a student manager for them. I got into the CIAC because I met Glenn Longarini, who was a longtime friend of my mom and who also heard about my story and was interested. And he asked me to be a part of this team. And obviously as a man, a young black man, I was definitely into this and it's something I want to do. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys and answering any questions you guys have. So please just let me know. I'm really excited to do this today.
Good morning. I am Lydell King. I'm actually London's dad. It's probably my best claim to fame. But I am originally from Newark, New Jersey. Born and raised. I ended up at Colgate University. I played football there for 4 years. Thought I would pursue a career in the NFL. I was in the Carolina Panthers training camp before I realized they are built different. So I had to get a real job. That real job actually led me to ESPN in here in Connecticut, out in Bristol. I've been at ESPN now for 24 years. I started as a production assistant, one of our sort of entry-level job positions, and I worked on every show that you could imagine, starting with SportsCenter. I eventually landed myself in the NFL world, telling stories and doing stories, and since then, I've been working on our long-form and short-form documentaries. So if you've watched 30 for 30, SC Featured, or any of those types of programs, you've seen my work. I did that for about 15 years at ESPN, and most recently, during the height of COVID and sort of the pause in sports, I was asked to join our NFL team once again. I currently oversee NFL Live, Monday Countdown, and Sunday NFL Countdown. So I've probably attended about 15 Super Bowls. I worked on many sports in between, been present for a handful of NBA Finals Game 7s, so the memories are long there. In terms of why I'm proud to be here is I was just like those faces in the crowd looking for somebody to look up to. And while that was far and few between in Newark, New Jersey, I found inspiration in some of the faces that I saw, hoping to provide that for some of you today.
I'm not sure how I got stuck following that one, but here I go. Raul Ortiz, I serve as the fire chief in the city of New Britain. I retired from Hartford as a deputy chief and then jumped over to New Britain. Actually served as the first Hispanic fire chief in the history of that department of 190 years. I also played high school sports. I thought I was good, right? That term, built differently, that exists. Where I was probably the best player on our baseball team, I got no college offers after I tore my rotator cuff, so I knew there had to be a plan B that included going to college. I actually went to school for teaching, so for those that didn't raise their hand, very noble profession. I pivoted shortly after just because a couple friends of mine were applying for the fire department, and I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. If I don't like it, I'll just go back to teaching. 26 years later, I haven't turned back. Though I'm getting close to ending my career, I have talked to a few people about going back to teaching after. I've discovered a passion. We started actually a public safety academy at the high school where we introduce our high school students to the world of firefighting, police, the police department, and EMS. In that time, I've developed that passion for teaching again, so as I end my career, I'll probably be teaching and probably diving into something along those lines. But what I like about this opportunity here is that I get to talk to some of you and kind of expand on the idea that not all of us will make that professional jump, not all of us will make that collegiate jump, but being an athlete teaches us one, character, discipline, right? And ultimately resiliency, right? There's wins and losses when it comes to sports. You're gonna prepare, you're gonna train, and you're still gonna lose. And you have to be okay with that because that is life. Just because you put in the effort doesn't mean that you're not gonna get the job or you are gonna get the job, but ultimately it's gonna build resiliency. And so I'm honored to be here, answer any of your questions, and I thank you for your time.
Good morning. I'm Da Vinci Prado. I go to the Academy of Aerospace Engineering. I'm 17. I'm a senior at that school now. My introduction may be a little smaller than everyone else's. I'm still learning, experiencing. But my high school career to where I am now, advocating, sharing, going around the state, even leaving the country to learn more, it didn't start off like that. In my freshman year, I had a rough situation with dealing with the school system and administration at my school. I didn't feel like I was getting the proper support, and that kind of led me to leaving the school, going to a new school, and leaving with a lot of questions on that school system. And I learned through my process of asking questions that led me to becoming the leader that I am today. I learned that a lot of people hold back from what they want to say, from the things that they're curious about. And I think that asking questions is extremely important in your process to actually find the answers to those things. As a younger individual here, I can kind of help share my experiences of being a leader in high school and the problems that students face with even identity issues and just being in high school and not knowing how to be the proper leader that you want to be because you're more focused on the responses you're going to get from your peers around you. I wasn't the same individual I was now. I used to be very disobedient. I didn't listen to rules. I just kind of went with my own flow. And I kind of learned to realize that just being someone that you can look up to is so much better. It actually makes you feel so much better when there's actually people that are looking up to you. So yeah, I'm just kind of here from the perspective of if you want to learn how to be a leader, if you want to take those steps, if you actually want to share, ask those questions and be confident in who you are, then I can definitely help you guys with that.
Good morning. My name is Chris Prescott. I am from Bloomfield, Connecticut. I attended Northwest Catholic High School, graduated at one of the top players in the state for basketball. I went on to play Division I basketball at St. Joe's University and St. Peter's University, two Division I schools. I had to transfer. My mom had a heart transplant, and so I had to get closer to home and finish out my Division I career at St. Peter's. From St. Peter's, I went to play on 6 years professionally overseas in Panama, Mexico, and Colombia. After I was done with my playing career, I always had a job in education, and I always thought it was really important for the younger generation to see representation of us in the schools outside of being the normal security guard, a behavior tech, somebody that's putting out fires constantly. I thought it was really important for somebody for you guys to see that there are positions in education that support instead of just the normal roles that you see. From there, I currently serve as the school to career specialist for Bloomfield Public Schools, the school district in which I grew up in. So it's an honor for me to serve in a capacity to help you guys figure out what your post-secondary plans are, what your career plans are, whether that be entrepreneurship, whether that be going to college, whether that be going straight into the workforce. Everybody's path is different, and so it's my job to help you guys figure out what that looks like and figure out the options that you have based on the interests and the skills that you have. Outside of my role in Bloomfield Public Schools, I own my own business, Impact Mentoring, Inc., where we help kids with development in regards to sports and recreation, with mentoring, and career readiness. And so the sports and recreation part, we provide summer camps, basketball leagues, basketball training, tournaments, anything to keep you guys busy recreationally, as that's what I did. I was involved in everything growing up. And so I think it's really important, as Mr. Ruiz said, basketball develops and helps you develop those transferable skills in life that can help you be successful in any platform or any spaces that you guys are going to be in the future. In the mentoring, I think it's really important for you guys to identify some mentors in your life that can help you get from point A to point B with as many resources, information, and knowledge that they can pour into you so that you can make those informed decisions with understanding the mistakes that they made so that you can avoid those and have more wins than losses. And then the career readiness part, it's, again, helping you guys figure out what it is that you guys can be successful in the future after sports. The percentages don't lie, right? There's only a short amount of percentages say that all of us are going to go to play college sports. Even fewer are going to play professional sports. So how can we think about being professionals in other realms outside of athletics? And I'm a testament to that. In closing, my motto is be who you needed when you were younger. And so I'm here today to serve as somebody that I want to be who I needed when I was younger. I needed a pro basketball player, somebody who was in education, somebody who was involved in the community, somebody who was tapped in with sports, somebody who played on the stages that you guys aspire to play on. And I needed somebody to help me with that. I didn't have a trainer. I didn't have anybody like that in my life that made it to the levels that I was aspiring to be. And so I'm glad to be able to be here and represent you guys as former athletes, somebody in education, and somebody just wants to see you guys win. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Good morning. Stafford Thomas Jr. here, principal of Staples High School. And based on the first question of this morning, I'm happy I'm not here to recruit, as no hands went up for future in education. But let's give a round of applause to all the teachers and educators here. I'm not offended. My mother's a teacher for 50 years, and she told me not to go into education, and here I am in my 20th year as an administrator. I was born on the island of St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. Anyone ever been down to the Virgin Islands? All right, there we go. And I was 8 and a half, we moved up to New York City, and from there, played basketball, football, baseball in high school, ended up rowing in college, and then after that, wanted to be a doctor, but ended up in law school. I worked as the Associate Director of Policy for the City of Providence as my first job out of law school. While I was in law school, I was able to get a free master's at the same time, and that was in ed administration. And so after working in government for about a year in that position, it really wasn't fulfilling to me. And as chance would have it, I ended up being an assistant principal that next year, and I've been 16 years as a principal now, and now of a high school. I was at the middle and high school level. I guess one thing to say is that, again, just following that path, I never would have guessed that I would, be the first black high school principal in this Durg, and one of the wealthiest towns and one of the wealthiest states in the country. So the path is what you make it. The other piece is, while you're going to have challenges, and it's important to know what you don't want to do just as much as it is what you do. But you're so young, don't rule anything out, but follow those passions, because whatever road it's going to be, if you want to achieve your dream or if you want to be successful in a field, even if you don't like it, it's going to be a hard road. And so if you're passionate about it, it's going to be a lot easier to achieve, because you have that resilience already in you to keep going when you get knocked down, and that will happen, as all of us have our plan B, C, and D, and here we are on stage. But I think we're here really to model that it can be done, and to support you in any way that you need, and also to see how different and divergent these paths are, where we ultimately ended up in positions where a lot of people rely on us, follow us, and in some cases we save lives, and in other cases we hope to promote students to meet their dreams. So that's what I hope you get out of it today. But the one thing is, people are watching you, so you are a leader whether you like it or not. You don't have to be in that position, but expose yourself, especially at this age, to as many clubs as you can, as many sports. Do some volunteering, even in fields that you think, I don't know if I want to do that. Go try it for a weekend. Join a club that you thought you'd never want to be part of, because that's where you kind of can make those connections, and there may be a passion that you never knew you had that's in you, that you can go back and fall back on that and use that to move forward. So thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing their stories. Now we will open it up for our audience to ask any follow-up questions.
Hey, it's nice to meet y'all. I'm Ivan. I'm currently a track and field student and athlete, of course, at New Britain High School. My question to y'all, I just want to know if the athlete ever leaves you. Yeah, like if you still have that drive, like, oh, I want to go out there, I want to play, I still want to do all that. Because I was just thinking, maybe one day if I do stop running track, is that gonna, is the urge ever gonna still be there?
Yeah, go ahead now.
All right. Oh, somebody said they want to take it? Okay. I play ball every day. That never leaves you. In fact, I still train like I'm in college. Somebody like laughed at me the other day, like I still wake up at 5, go to the gym, go to work, go to the gym after work. I diversify my workouts, because, as you get older, you got to switch it up and you got to modify. But that never leaves you. And I think that's the beauty of athletics, is that the goals might change and there might be different phases of life, but that athletic side is never going to leave you. You're just going to find different ways to channel it. You're going to find different ways to approach keeping yourself in shape, keeping yourself healthy, and those things that were embedded in you growing up, like the athlete schedule. Again, I'm not trying out for any team right now, but if you look at me in the gym, you would think I'm trying to make a team right now, right? So it never leaves you.
I would just add that the things you learn through sports stay with you throughout your life, right? Like teamwork, competitive spirit. A few folks talked about resilience. All of those traits that you learn and skills that you learn through sports stay with you as well. I think life happens, right? And sometimes you take a detour from working out or the actual sport that you play, but those characteristics, traits, and skills stay with you throughout a lifetime. So I would say, and what I tell my kids and a lot of the folks that I mentor is, practice good habits, and those habits will stay with you through life, but those habits are learned through sports.
One thing also is that as you get older, these will be some of the best years of your life, whether you know it or not, just your youth. But this is where many of you find joy. And as life changes and you can't create the schedule, your daily schedule, in the same way you are now or even in college, it's so important to keep doing what makes you feel young, what you enjoy doing, because so much of your life is your career, I should say, not your life, but your job for many of you. Will be solving problems. They're not problems of your own making, and that's very different from what you have now. So to keep doing that long after is key, but every day before I go into a difficult meeting, inevitably I go back to high school sports and big games and being able to compartmentalize. The skills that you're picking up now for playing high school sports, the teamwork, the camaraderie, the compassion, and that drive, that stays with you and will be with you in every aspect of your professional career, whatever that may be. But the key is, find that joy, because it does remind you of when you were young.
Okay, one more question. Do you think you were born with that competitiveness, or it came from the sport?
Well, coming from St. Croix, but Tim Duncan also from St. Croix, don't sleep. But I think probably both. It certainly comes out when you have to compete, but there's nothing like mano-a-mano, going one-on-one. First it was running track, and then it was playing team sports. But whether it is competitive for you or it's competitive to the person next to you on that team, playing for your school, there's so much there that I think that competitive nature is something that does come, is accentuated through athletics.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Drew King, and I just want to know how hard or how long did it take you to change from being an athlete to where you are today?
Is on? Yeah, it is on. Well, I played basketball up until this spring. so it's not too far, less than a year, from me playing to not playing, and I'll say the transition was pretty quick. Mentally, which was kind of like the question before, I still feel like an athlete. I still feel like I'm a player, and being around that UConn basketball environment, which is the highest college basketball right now that there is, it's kind of tough to watch them play when I'm not playing, but I watch them and I try and learn things as well as if I were a player. I'm still trying to learn the plays, I'm still trying to learn everything that they're doing, all the technique, and even in their everyday lifestyle, what they do from when they wake up to when they go to bed, 4 workouts, 3 healthy meals, get their proper sleep, their leisure time, like everything from start to finish in the day, I'm still trying to learn and I'm trying to incorporate into my own lifestyle as if I were an athlete. So I don't want to say like it took a while for me to adapt to playing to not playing, because in my mind I still kind of feel like I'm playing a little bit, even though I'm not. And my situation is a little different because I can't go out there and work out twice a day or do too much activity because it's not healthy for me, unfortunately. But mentally, I still feel like I'm there and I still feel like I'm playing, and I think it's just really cool for me still. But I think if you are done playing, whenever that time comes, everybody stops at some time in their life. If you truly do love the game and you like what you're doing, and whatever sport that may be, not just basketball, but if you love what you're doing, you'll truly find a way to stay around that and embrace it into your everyday lifestyle, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Marty. I got a question. Since y'all all had like a passion at first, like what did you realize, that like realization of that plan B? Like what did you want to like pursue around that time?
Say it again. I'm sorry, what's the question? Can you say it one more time?
Like y'all had a passion at first, like of going far with your like what you wanted to do. So what was that plan B? Like how did you realize the realization of to falling back to something new?
I'll jump in. I think, the question you're asking is basically like, how do you swallow that pill?
Yeah.
How do you take the realization and the reality that whatever your playing career is, or whatever your aspiration was, right? If it was to play pro ball or play professionally in either sport or whatever it was, I think, again, the things that you learn being an athlete are the things that comfort you in that moment, right? Like at some point that competitive nature, you might have it still, but the skill level and what you expect from yourself, right? I think the big thing is, the one thing that you learn a little bit is self-awareness when you're playing sports. You figure out how you fit in. If you're going to be that leader, if you're going to be a guy that's part of the support system for the leader, right? And as you start to develop those skills and that understanding of yourself, you realize, I'm unable to pour what I need to pour into something. I have a high expectation for myself. So at some point you realize there's a reason why a professional team, a scout, a school, a Division I, II, or III, whatever it is, just isn't in your future. And part of that, again, is being able to say, I'll prepare for that too. That's what makes it easy. When you're sitting in this room now, you're preparing for that. You're preparing yourself to adjust, because that's what sports is. When you look at the first half of a game, coaches go into the halftime and make an adjustment. We're preparing ourselves all the time in life to adjust. And when you're ready and prepared, that adjustment is so much more easy.
I got one more question. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, real quick. I just want to add to what he was saying. Just what I realized was a true accountability and honesty with myself, right? I felt like I had the talent when I considered who was around me. I was good for who was around me, but I wasn't good for the levels that it needed to be to get to that collegiate level. And so you have to ask yourself, right? I was very honest with myself, and I said, yeah, in the wintertime, was I hitting the batting cages? Was I taking the ground balls? Was I looking at different pitches? I wasn't doing the extra work, right? That was my light switch. I turned it off. I went to another sport, didn't give it too much thought, and I was like, there's levels to this, like he was saying, is That person that's playing all year long, waking up at 4:30 in the morning to take ground balls, to take fielding practice, whatever have you, that's the person that's gonna outwork me, which they did. And so I was just honest with myself and said, I didn't do the work. I can't be upset with the results I didn't get for the work I didn't put in.
Thank you.
I would add to that. I'm sorry. I think to transition, it becomes to where the mindset before the transition happens has to occur where I wish somebody would have told me this when I was younger. Like, we're more than just athletes. Being an athlete is just one aspect of our lives, right? We're people capable of so many different things. And so I think we sell ourselves short, especially at a young age, thinking it's just about athletics. And so there's this term, athlete identity foreclosure, where we only identify as athletes, and we kind of forget to develop in other ways of our lives, socially, educationally. And so I think that it makes the transition easy once you understand earlier that, again, the ball will stop bouncing one day. And so what have you done to prepare before that day comes that makes the transition much easier? Using those transferable skills that you have that sports gives us. Using your network, your coaches, your mentors, and your school faculty, people in the community. And just, again, identifying that how else can you be successful outside of sports? And really honing in on those identities to where if you're working on yourself athletically, you should be also working on yourself personally to develop as well. So that when that day comes, the transition is much easier. And you have a plan and you have a path. And it's not like, what next? And I've been there. I tore my patella tendon in the middle of my professional career. My kneecap was in my thigh. And at that day, yeah, like I went up for a dunk and my kneecap was in my thigh, and I kind of was like, whoa. And at that time, I had to drive myself to the hospital. Thank God it was my left leg. I drove myself to the hospital, and I was like, damn, like, what next? Who am I? What do I do now? And I never want y'all to feel like that, because I was like 26 feeling like that. So if you can start identifying how you can be successful outside of sports at your age, you'll be in good shape.
I got one more question. What do you think about like where you raised or born at affects your like educational growth for youth?
The grades.
Can you repeat the question?
I said, where you raised or born at, how would this affect your education level for the youth? Like us,
I can
like.
jump in there. As I mentioned earlier, I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. And the one thing that I quickly realized that there weren't the resources that, to your point, the people around me or the people adjacent to me, same age in different places, had more access. And I think the important part was when I got to Colgate University, which is a high-level academic school, I realized quickly I was unprepared. The things that I learned, the habits that I developed, they weren't good enough. And luckily, I was in a place that the educators did their job. Their job is to help you succeed. What makes them a good educator is to educate you. So use them as resources. Ask questions, like this young man said. Go spend time in their office. Office hours is something that most education systems have throughout. You know what I mean? Whether it's middle school, high school, you guys got guidance counselors, teachers. Use them as resources. Ask questions, go to them and find out, what more can I be doing to learn? I think the thing is, when we think about the student athlete, sometimes the student part gets lost. When you think about the mission of, I didn't go to an HBCU, historically black colleges and universities, but when you think about why they became, it was because during segregation and during times like that, we knew that the only way that we could compete for jobs or compete in any sort of social environment was to be on the same level educationally. When you think of their predecessors, you talk about enslaved populations. The biggest sin for a long period of time was if a slave knew how to read. I'm gonna pause for a second. If you knew how to read, you would lose your life. Knowledge is empowering. If you don't ever acquire that, then people can keep you in place. But when you acquire that knowledge, you're able to see so much more and access so much more.
In New York, over 56% of third graders cannot pass a standard literacy test. That is not spoken about enough because that means over half of the future generation is not preparing themselves to be properly educated in our society, right? So those things are not talked about enough. And so to actually add to the restriction of literacy and enslavement, slave masters knew that restricting literacy was important because if slaves knew how to read, they were gonna find ways to escape from the plantations that they were assigned to. So restricting their rights to literacy was the power for them to know that the power of literacy is impactful, right? So now that we're in 2024 and over half of a state cannot read properly, that it brings caution. So one thing I want to say is education is one thing that cannot be taken from you. If you love sports, go work hard, work 100%, 10% hard in the sport that you want to achieve. But I want you guys to realize this, stay in school as well because education can't be taken from you. One injury can ruin your entire career. Education is something that's gonna last with you forever. Even using your education through sports is gonna help you. You know what I'm saying? Because you can teach your teammates around you. You can be on those sidelines and teach them things that they didn't know because they weren't in the classroom, because they chose to take the risk to be on that court. And although those risks are important as well, it just makes you highlight and realize that education is very powerful. So don't take it for granted.
Yeah, and along with that, a round of applause for that. So that no, along with that important history lesson, the chief and I weren't the first black and brown people to be capable of being in the positions that we're in, but we are. And what's so important about what you're learning on the fields, on the courts, is that drive. Life isn't fair. Sports may be the most meritocratic of all aspects. However, it's not fair either. When you look at what schools are winning state championships in any state, look that up and see what are the communities that are winning the most state championships in the last 10 years. What you can take from that drive is that not only do you have to be better, and it's a cliche, but it's that drive, and being better doesn't mean you do it alone. That's where the networking comes in. But you will not be given the benefit of the doubt. We're not given the benefit of the doubt in many fields in comparison to colleagues that you may be competing against for a job, for a promotion. And so you have to be able to be more accountable, to be more attuned to how you present yourself, to be more attuned to how people react to you. Things that your opponents may not have to do, which doesn't happen in sports, except for only the top athlete is given the benefit of the doubt. So you may be the top athlete, and the quick shift, I think, is going to be you now have to change and almost be that grinder, the last person on the bench that's working harder than everybody else just to get to where you are. But the key is, as you see this panel grow, you're not going to have and hear about the first this or the first that of color that's in this position. It's going to be something that's normal where you are given the benefit of the doubt. And that's when you truly look at equality. But in order to get there, it's going to be the drive that partially what you are doing and what you see on your teams or individual sports.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you. Hi. My name is Tyson Kerr, and I just wanted to ask, what really just got you to get up one day and decide and try to change yourself and become a fire chief And how has that affected you personally? And was there anybody who inspired you?
So I'm going to assume that question's for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's an interesting question because I didn't want to be a firefighter. And in fact, that's my response, is they didn't look like me, right? I didn't think that position was afforded to me. They all looked a certain way. They were tall. They didn't have the skin complexion or the accent. I was like, okay, that's not for me. And then it was just a bunch of friends that said, hey, let's go apply. What I can tell you is that I did not know I would love the profession until I was in the profession. And the inspiration came from individuals saying that, oh, you applied for the fire department, what, you couldn't find a job somewhere else, right? We have this thing where we're gonna lower the standards because we want people of color to join the fire department. And mind you, this is 26, 27 years ago. That attitude still lives on today, where when I hire people of color, I, quote unquote, lowered the standard. And we don't do that. We remove barriers. So my inspiration was people thinking I didn't belong there, right? So as I kept moving up the ranks, and this isn't to toot my own horn, I truly believe that I'm just an ordinary person, but it was that high school discipline of playing sports, right? That athlete in me, to the person that asked the question, does it ever leave you? The competitiveness never leaves you. So when we start testing for promotions, I was consistently ranked number 1 or number 2 in the exams. So, and the attitude, and some of my mentors would say, don't put that stress on you. You don't have to be the highest ranked person on the exam. You just have to be the highest ranked Spanish person. They always have to make one person. I said, how about I just be number 1 overall, and then it doesn't matter what I am. I said, because I don't subscribe to that. And the whole idea was, this became bigger than me. Did I want to be fire chief? Yeah. Do I like when people salute me? Sure. Right? Who doesn't, right? But I realized that it's individuals like you, representation matters. Right? They have to see people that can achieve the very highest of levels. I'm a 5-bugle fire chief. There is no 6. I've reached the highest level in my profession. And my job is not to what my colleague said, it's not necessarily being the first, it's making sure you're not the last. So my job is to make sure that we remove all barriers that prevent people and people of color, underrepresented groups from applying for these good jobs. So what I can tell you is that the fire service, all departments are looking for people of color because let's face it, we're a very diverse community everywhere. And we're not getting enough people to apply. So it's not to say we're just gonna hire people of color, but we need people in the pools so we can select from. And we're not getting them. So I can tell you, if you're looking for a job as a firefighter, apply to New Britain. You have a good chance, as long as you stand with good character, right? Let's make no mistake about it. We're not lowering standards. We're removing barriers to allow people to apply for jobs that weren't available to us back in the day, right? When fire departments were first started, it was just Irish white men that were applying and were firefighters. And those jobs got passed on to their sons and their sons and their sons. So when do the Ortizes, the Malcolms, the Jamals, the Jose's, when do they get an opportunity when you're just handing down jobs to the next person that oh, my firefighter's been, I've 6 generations of firefighters. Well, I'm the first. I'm the first in my family to become firefighter and then to ultimately become fire chief. So how do I change that? That's my inspiration, is all of you, right? Is we need representation. And none of us on this panel, we're all sitting at the highest levels, and I can assure you that athleticism, being an athlete, that competitive drive is what drove us to this position. Anyone of success, track it, trace it, all the way down, discipline, getting up, working out, trying to be an athlete, knowing that your teammate is depending on you to get a good night's rest, to eat properly, to not be on your phone, to learn the plays, right? Everyone depends on the other person to be successful. So we understand this. And in doing that, we owe that obligation to the next person.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I just want to say, that's why to the earlier question about play as long as you can, to whatever age you can, because to find that joy. Nothing about what the chief said is fun. It's exhausting. It can be depressing to hear that and to be motivated by proving people wrong. It can be maddening. You've got to find something. If it's basketball, pick up basketball. If it's tennis, if it's football, may be hard to play after a certain age. Find something that you do where you find that joy that you have right now, because you're going to need it to balance all of the stresses, the trials and tribulations that your colleague sitting next to you may not have to go through any of that, as you said. So keep that, whatever it is that you find joy in, you got to identify that now and keep doing that as long as you can.
Hi, good morning. My name is Cameron. I'm from Maloney High School. So this is more of a personal question. This is to all of you guys. I come from a family where my father wasn't around. I'm not sure if you guys touched up on this. So my question is, how do you, coming from a single mother family, or a household, my apologies, how do you sort of become that man without having that father figure in your life? Like, I just want to know your guys' thoughts on that.
Can I take this one? I can take this one? All right. Okay. So I've done some statistical research on kids that grow up in single homes, right? Bridgeport, New Haven, and Hartford are the three main cities where over 50% of all children don't have both parents in the household, specifically single mothers, right? So I think about it, right? From there, we have you 4 times more likely not graduating high school, 4 times more likely to go to jail, 4 times more likely to be homeless. So these are all statistics that go to show that with just having one parent in the household, you're more likely to be in odds of these things. So don't let that scare you and think that you're set out to be that, because you're far from it, right? But just having one parent in the household, you have to take on both roles of both parents as well. There are certain things that I believe that both genders teach you differently, right? There are certain roles that your mother is going to provide for you, and there are certain roles that your father is going to provide for you. Whether you want to make a standard of your expectation for each gender, that's up to you. But with a team, you can build a community, right? You can build it. You can build a great empire. So just seeing my mother have to do things by herself because she didn't have a man to provide for her, having to work late nights, not having that time to spend with your children, having to sacrifice and having to have your kids in elementary school get themselves ready in the morning because you have to get your rest for work in the morning, right? Not being able to provide the proper care that you want to because you don't have both parents in the household. Those things are struggling, but they can also be strengthening for you as well. Just growing up as a young man, having to see my mom sacrifice, it made me, when I was able to make some money, help her as well. You know what I'm saying? Give her the things that she gave me. So it's just kind of a full cycle, and it helps you realize actually when you become a man yourself, you're going to want to be a better man than the man that you wish was there to provide for you.
Thank you. Real quick. Real quick, if I can expand on that real quick, to your question, I would advise all of you to humble yourselves and ask for a mentor. There is no one on this panel, there's no adult here that I'm sure, most of us pride ourselves in mentoring other people. I grew up, same way, right? 4 boys, single mom, no father. My father passed away 2022, never met him. I don't use that as an excuse. I found mentors, people that took a vested interest in me and said, there's something special about you. Don't go down this path. I can tell you that all 3 of my brothers have served time in jail. One of them's in hiding, so I'll leave that out. But, and everyone always says, well, you're different. Why couldn't they be like you? I'm the outlier. I didn't have the resources that other people had. But what I had was people that were mentors to me. Humble yourself. I promise you, there's nothing that hasn't been done that you want to do that hasn't been done, that someone is doing to the very top scale of their profession. Ask for a mentor. Say, you know what, there's something about you. I really want to go into this profession. Would you mentor me? The most difficult thing to say is, would you mentor me? And most people, I promise you, are going to say yes, as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing. I can tell you, I have like 10 mentees. I'm always calling them. Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? How are the grades? And then I call them out. Oh, I got to see. Oh, you looking to be average then. Oh, let's talk about this. Oh, come on, Chief. No, I'm going to keep it real. Let's go. You looking to be average. C is average. So ask for a mentor. When you ask, I get it, man. It's hard because we're already starting we're playing catch up. So when you start talking about who teaches you how to be a man, you watch. You see other people. And you learn from everyone. You say, that's someone I want to emulate. And then you look at someone and say, those are the traits I don't want to emulate, right? You can learn from everyone. I've had bad chiefs in my career. I've had good chiefs. I've learned from all of them. Ooh, I don't want to be that guy, but I want to be this guy. And you work at it.
I'd piggyback just on that last notion, learn from everyone, right? And again, full disclosure, personal thing, by the time I was 16, both my parents were no longer with us. So I had to find inspiration from different places, right? And yes, some of us, it's, the single mother household or whatever. Look around. A woman can teach you how to be a man. It doesn't always have to be a man. My wife is raising 3 boys, teaching them every day how to be a man. To his point, figure out who you want to be and find inspiration where it's available to you.
Good morning. My name is Sekou. I'm a senior at Kobe Cathedral High School. My question is for Mr. Christopher here. You said that you played at the Division I level and you had a transfer due to your mom's heart transplant. I really want to know how big sacrifice is for you and how you really had to sacrifice your transferring for the sake of your mother and how that really was important to you.
Yeah, great question. I think when it comes to family, it's kind of an easy sacrifice. My mom has made several, as all of our, people that support us, they make a ton of sacrifices, some that we see and some that we don't see. The sacrifice in my standpoint was transferring from one school that I was happy at, that, St. Joe's was at the top of the A10 at the time. They were number 1 in the country a few years before I got there. And I loved it. I was in Philadelphia. Both of my sides of my family are from Philadelphia, my mom's side and my dad's side. So I was in my second home, playing on ESPN 30 times in my career. I played in the Maui Classic my freshman year in Hawaii. I played in the Paradise Jam in the Virgin Islands my sophomore year. And that was hard to leave. That was really, really, really hard. But at the end of the day, I've seen my mom make harder sacrifices, and I couldn't have got there without her. And so I'm one of those people that family is the most important thing to me. It was really important for my family to be represented at my games. I look over and see them there as a sense of comfort, sense of, nostalgic when I'm growing up from 3rd grade, senior year in high school to sophomore year in college. I could look over in that corner and see my crew, see my tribe. And so that was really hard for me not seeing that, being away from home, being on the biggest stage, living up to so many internal expectations, external expectations. And so that challenge was really difficult, but at the same time, that's where faith comes in. I think I'm somebody that is a heavy believer in God. And so I walk by faith and not by sight. And so when God tells me to go one direction, I tend not to ask questions. I tend not to have it all figured out and know what point A to point B looks like. And so God blessed me with another chance. And you see the portal today. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Transferring from one school to the next is oftentimes a nightmare, right? And so I'm just thankful that the values that I had with family and togetherness overrid the risk that it took for me to maybe potentially be in a worse situation, leaving a really good situation. And so, in closing, you're gonna have to take risks in your life. And you're gonna have to make some sacrifices, you're gonna make some choices that may play a role in your life, that take a turn for the better or worse, in your family's life. Again, I was going to college for free too, so in case that didn't work out, I may have had to pay for school during my next, destination. So easy choice when it comes to who I was making it for, but very hard when it comes to all the, outliers, the shouldas, the couldas, the wouldas. And so again, that's where faith comes in, and not worrying about what can go wrong, just being prepared for the next destination, being prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, and taking every day at a time. Just take it one day at a time. That's why I try to value. Many of us try to get from point A to point Z in our time frame, right? But just take it one day at a time. Just do what you got to do to be 1% better every day. And so that's why it worked out for me, yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, rise and shine, gentlemen. Whoa, rise and shine, gentlemen. Much honor and respect for all you men showing up today, for these young men. My name is Levi Jordan. I'm an outreach specialist at West Haven High School. I'm also a football coach for the high school and the youth, and basketball coach for the middle school. I started a business called the Best of the West LLC in West Haven. I played sports from 3rd grade until high school. So I came back and started to give back once I had children. Long story short, in the business, I started programs, did events, and I do a couple of leagues. And in the programs, I got a program called Building and Balling, Skills and Drills. And a lot of times we talk and expound on what it takes as a student athlete and the lifestyle that you have to live. It's a little more, it's different from a normal kid to where you're waking up and you have to put in the hours training if you want to be elite. But you also have to be elite in the classroom if you want to play on an elite level. And a lot of times these kids don't know anything about NCAA clearinghouse or anything about what grades they need to qualify for the schools they want to go to, if they even look for the school that they want to go to that fits their personality. So basically my question to you guys is, for some of you guys that took that road, what would you suggest for these guys to start to do, or what you did to balance your life to have a well-educated life, the character that you needed, and the grades that you needed to play on a high level or at any level, so these kids could know, or young men? That is my question. Shall I elaborate?
Yeah. No, thank you. And it was a heck of a game last year, the state championship game. My hat's off to UES. It was probably the best football game you'll ever see. And it's I'd be certainly happy to talk. I know there was an athlete on your team last year that was looking at Georgetown, and I offered to speak with him if he wanted to.
Okay,
to know
yeah,
more.
I got a card and we could talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the driving force for me, was really honestly trying to search for a better life. And sometimes, and that was through college. College is a long process. High school can seem long, and then on top of that, you got 4 more years after that. And then most likely, you'd be looking at a master's program of some sort, unless you go into entrepreneurship or technology. which strongly recommend, especially technology with the advent of AI and where it's going to be and where it is right now already. You don't need all of that education. You just need to be ready and good in that field. If you're going for a more traditional field, it's keeping that bigger picture in mind. Am I happy with what I have right now? Do I want more? Do I envision more? Am I able to get that? And the sacrifice that these athletes are putting out there, I don't know how any of the athletes walked off the field after that game. And in addition to the tragedy and the mental stress of getting ready for that in front of 6,000 people, right. They did that and they did it proudly. That seems hard, but that's easy because they could see it right in front of them. They're playing for the trophy. The bigger picture is, in order to get that next level where I can better myself, my family, it's going to take some time, it's going to take some sacrifice. What do I need to do? The first thing is most likely to get into a junior college or a four-year college. And how do I do that? Athletics can certainly help, because for whatever school it is, whether it's a junior college or the Ivy Leagues, if you're a desired athlete for that school, you've got probably a 5 times better chance than your traditional student who is not an athlete of getting into that school. So you already have an advantage in the athletic department there. And even, for your resume to be well-rounded. The key then is, okay, academically, what do I need? And some of that is, what courses would you like to take? Look at those objectives, look at the electives, look at STEM classes, things that you may be good at or like, because that will, again, that'll be an easier class for you to do well in because you like it. You get those grades, you're going to be able to get into one of the colleges with financial aid. Honestly, the benefit for me on top of, very good grades was that we didn't have any money. So either you're really rich in this country or really poor in order to afford college, because you can either afford the $90,000 a year, that's right, that's right now, $90,000 a year for 4-year college. But if for financial aid, if you're in that category, typically you'll have great offers. You're able to go. If you're right in the middle class, that's where you're going to have to also work to get some grants, to get other scholarships. Look at the loan packages and how long you can defer that. You may go into public service, military, teaching in an urban center where some of those loans could be forgiven, but it is a long road, so that big picture has to be there. The hard part is, and that's a great program you have, and I'll wrap it up here, with a team, you see that big picture from day one. You see the people in the room who are all trying to get that goal, and you're responsible for that. With yourself, it's you, it's your family. It's difficult if you may be the first in your family to go to college or to get a master's. You've got to kind of blaze that path, but it's grabbing the mentors, it's speaking with your counselors and coaches to try and create a team, just like you do on the field, for an academic team to get you into that next level for college and moving forward after that.
Thank you.
That's going to wrap it up for the audience questions. A special thank you to all of our panelists for taking time to speak to Connecticut's middle school and high school students. We would also like to thank all of our participants for joining today. Please let us know your thoughts on today's discussions by filling out a short feedback form. There are QR codes in all the breakout rooms throughout the building. Advisors, please be sure to register soon for the upcoming High School Leadership Conference. There are QR codes with more information and the registration link around the building and in breakout rooms. Finally, these events wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. First and foremost, thank you to Berlin High School for giving us the space to make this event possible. Let's give Berlin High School a big round of applause. We would also like to thank our additional sponsor, Connecticut Army National Guard. Please check them out in the lobby as you make your way out to your buses later. We will now begin dismissal for the breakout sessions.